Hello, welcome to the Greennet Basics Navigation Getting Started tutorial. This is really just the absolute basics of where to find things in the platform and how to do some very basic operations. So to get started, this is where you'll land when you log in on the simulations page, and this is where you can see models which combine links from other parts of the app, but this is where you're going to get started. So if I want to create a new model, I click on this new button. I can create a folder to organize models, or I can go straight into a simulation. So I'm going to go straight into a simulation, and I'm here with the blank canvas, or the node canvas, where I can give my simulation a name. So we'll call this test number one sim, and we can give it a description, revision. Can call it revision A, and we can get going with creating some basics. We could create an agent. We can create vehicles, metrics, all kinds of things here, and we can get going with our basic nodes as well. So we've got the menu here. You can search it, so we might want a spawn block. So I can grab a spawn agent block. Might want a delay block, etc. And I can get going. I can get going with things like that. Here, I've got the run menu, which I'm going to use to run the simulation. Again, I can name that. I can say run number one. Um, I can change this to the time I want it to go for. The default units will actually be in the details of the sim. So we've got seconds, I might put it to minutes. So that will change that there. So I might go 60 minutes. And yeah, once I've set that up, I can access things, parameters, where I set those up. That will be covered in another tutorial. Got my duplicate feature, run, load, delete, logs if I'm checking like debug or something like that. So that is the absolute basics when it comes to getting started with an event style simulation. I can browse other windows. If I've got a network model, I can see that where it is on the map. If I've got a schematic for like a rail simulation, I can click there. Graphs, I can set up for this as well in my simulation. I can label it, call this, metrics number one or something, and I can add 4 different types of metrics. Default metrics, which I haven't created any, couple of forces for rail, agent time, um, vehicle performance. These are some of the default ones, depending on what your simulation setup is. And I can organize these here. We'll go into more detail on metric setup another tutorial, but that's the basics. We can, name things, label things. All of the things I'm doing now are going to be saved as well. So if I go back here, we can see that simulation. We can go back into it and edit it, and see what we were working on before as well. Vehicle graphs are for movements. We haven't set that up. We're not going to do that here. And then bulk run or sim optimizations are for analyzing lots of simulations in parallel. So that's the basics in the sim space. What we also will be doing a lot of is creating network models, which is here. You can create new ones by importing files, some KML file options, or you can simply draw a model. And this is for things where vehicles will move over. So I'm not going to go again into detail on that. It's just what that section is for, and we can create schematic mode as well, where we don't know the GIS, we just go straight into a distance, relative and grade and things like that. We can edit, obviously, lots of other network models that we have. We can duplicate them, just like we could duplicate simulations. There's a duplicate button here. We can duplicate network models too. There are permissions. I will jump back in here. Sorry, I missed the permission setup. I can assign this to groups and users with different things. I've got some engineers. I can give them all permissions in that group. If a user has a higher permission than the group, then that will be precedent for that. There's a few other options in there, just to read, not edit, delete, of course, moving around the folders, looking at logs, who's changed simulations, so that's quite handy. Trains is very specific to trains, and that's a setup if you want to configure basically carriages and locomotives in a certain configuration that you're going to use in a simulation for quick access as a library, then that's the way to do it. It's quite easy. So I could have distributed power or something for a loco. Could have a -9 battery and a diesel or something like that, and set my quantity there. Vehicles, typically powered vehicles for rail, um, which again we can edit and we can um, view the specs, and we're going to set these all up another time. Carriages, similar thing, create new, duplicate, edit, that kind of stuff. Same again for motor vehicles, duplicate, edit. Permissions, you can lock these down for certain people or groups. New node types, if you're an administrator, you can create your own custom node types. So obviously the default ones that ship with Greennet, and that's how we can configure things up to our own discretion and give them text for information labels, and can add code and functions and quite a lot there, which is good. You can filter on things like this. So if we're looking for like something to do with wagons, we can bring up all those. The filter button is present on all pages because there is a lot of list style pages like this, so we can use the filter. So if we go port, for example, we can filter things like that for different things we might be looking for. So that's a thing globally in the app, the filters. Node categories is just for different types of node type groupings, which is fairly straightforward. It's just like a reference list. Users is going to be helpful if you are an administrator and you're wanting to add new users or configure user groups and assign tokens. That's the place to do that. It's quite handy. Create new user groups or create new users and assign permissions and things like that. This stuff's super admin, so you don't need to worry about that. Config is just your company name, and the help is the last important one, so that we can browse through their different help kind of guides and information. There's tutorials, there's some videos, some text. Um, you've probably found this already, just for browsing or for searching. There's also quick navigation to switch between the other menus. That can also be accessed using the / key on the keyboard to quickly navigate to that. So that's the really basic navigation options. We'll have further tutorials that go specifically into obviously building a simulation, but network models, train setup, vehicle setup, and creating nodes to help people out. So hopefully that is good to get started, and good luck. Thanks.